Servus Männer, it's Red Pill Germany again. Everybody is talking about oil and gas prices, sanctions towards Russia, and of course the rising prices at the gas pump. While that of course is very important, there is another sector that is equally important, if not even more important, and that is the food supply. I hope you all know that Ukraine and Russia are really big food exporters. It is especially in the Ukraine and in Western Russia very fertile land, and they are exporting a lot of wheat. A lot of that is shipped out via the Black Sea, via Odessa, for example, and I think you know what is going on there at the moment. That is why wheat futures and the food price index and so on, they are shooting up right now, and food prices due to general inflation are already on the rise, but they will become much higher in the near future, that is without a doubt. So for example, Russia and Ukraine produce twice as much, or they export twice as much as the EU, and 40% of the grains in the EU come from that region, from Russia and Ukraine. And that is falling away now, of course. In the case of Russia, it is because of sanctions, and in the case of Ukraine, it is because, well, the harbors are really blocked right now, and also I don't think that there will be a harvest going on this summer in large parts of the country at least, and it is questionable if one can get this out of there, or if they even want to export it, because quite frankly, I think they need it for themselves. That is also very clear, I guess. So I don't think that the EU should be that much concerned. Yes, prices will go up, but I don't think there will be necessarily fundamental problems in the EU unless EU politicians really want it to be that way. More about that towards the end of the video maybe. So who are the countries that are most affected by that? It is, surprise, surprise, countries that are struggling as it is, especially when it comes to their food supply. You see, the countries that are most reliant on Ukrainian wheat, that is Egypt, Indonesia, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Turkey, and so on. Not really EU countries, not really first world countries. Let's take Turkey, for example, and I do that because I made videos about the situation in Turkey in the past. They have record inflation rates now, and there are long lines in front of shops where taxpayer subsidized bread is being distributed at a lower price to the population. Now just imagine what happens when Turkey, a country where last year in 2021 round about half of the population said in a poll that they struggled to put food on the table during the last 12 months. What happens if in that country now one of their primary or one of the biggest sources of wheat imports is just falling away? Maybe they cannot even get the wheat that they need, or they must pay much higher prices because, well, I'm not an expert in the agricultural sector, but I would assume that Ukraine and Russia are probably not the most expensive suppliers, and the other sources, especially when there is an overall scarcity on the planet right now, the prices will definitely go up, be it because other suppliers are just inherently more pricey or because there is just an increase in prices generally right now. And that will hit these countries really hard. It will hit them like a truck, and I'm not kidding, there is the serious prospect of uprisings there. Because nothing makes people more angry than when their children, or themselves for that matter, have to go to bed hungry. The question then becomes, how many skipped meals away are we from a revolution? And so, as I said, it is not only the wheat that is missing right now or in the near future when this dip will reach the supermarket shelves, but it is also really the wheat that is not cultivated right now, and that will be missing in summer and in autumn and maybe next year. And it gets even worse because, of course, this shortage and these price hikes in natural resources, just as natural gas and oil, well, they are bad by themselves already, but they have a connection, a crosstalk to the food market. And that is what many people know, of course, that tractors and transportation and all these things, they are powered by diesel. And the other thing that many people don't know is that fertilizer Especially nitrogen fertilizer requires natural gas for its production. So not only do we have a shortage in wheat and also in fuel, we also will have very soon a shortage in fertilizer. In an interview, the speaker of a big German fertilizer producer said that this is a real issue and they cannot just upscale their production as fast as that. It takes in some cases 10 years before they can build another plant, and they can just increase their productivity or their output in very small steps, and it's a slow business. They cannot just ramp up 50% in the next month. It doesn't work this way. So the fertilizer prices are closely connected to the natural gas prices also. And that guy also said that a lot of countries have strategic oil reserves or strategic food reserves, but they don't have strategic fertilizer reserves as a rule. Maybe Lebanon had tried that, but it didn't turn out that great for them in the end, I think. Anyway, so what is the European Union doing right now? They have already announced that they could ration food in the EU. I'm not kidding. They are talking now about rationing food, going to something like a centrally planned war economy or something like that, where you get these little tickets and for like 1 pound of butter per week or something, and then you just cannot buy anymore. That is, of course, a drastic measure, but what could they do instead? Because you must realize that many EU countries are very fertile countries. They have a very good agricultural sector. Germany is a prime example of that. But what is the EU doing? They are paying farmers for leaving their fields bare. Yes, you heard correctly. This is their environmental policy. That means a lot of farmers in our high-price countries, they need EU subsidies or some other form of government taxpayer subsidies in order to survive, in order to keep the lights on, because there is no free market. Everything is over-regulated by the government, and there are a lot of regulations, a lot of red tape, a lot of rules. And as a farmer in Germany right now, you basically have to become an expert at dealing with the bureaucracy, and you have to become an expert on EU rules, regulations, and filling out application forms and such things. So bottom line, European farmers are paid to leave a part of their fields barren. And so far I have heard appeals to the EU to change that, to drop this policy at a time where we need food. But I haven't heard any response yet. The EU doesn't seem to overthink this very, very questionable program or this policy. I will look into that, and when I have time I will do a little more research, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I haven't heard that the EU wants to stop this practice. So that means not only are a lot of these fields now in Germany filled with solar panels already, no, they are actually staying bare. They will not be worked, no wheat, no other food will be cultivated on these fields, and that will just mean that this crisis now, we could do something against it. We could do, maybe it's not too late yet, the EU could stop this policy and start growing more food and really mobilize the potential of the European farmers. But as of now, I haven't seen them doing that. Which begs the question, of course, are they trying to create a kind of famine worldwide on purpose, or that they're just too lazy to do something against it? Redirecting taxpayers' money is one thing, but discontinuing harmful policies is the least I expect from them. And if they don't do that, quite frankly, then my interpretation is that they want these countries to be in turmoil and that there be uprisings and chaos because of a food shortage. Yes, those countries I mentioned in the beginning that are so heavily reliant on Ukrainian and Russian wheat, and that are, as I said, already struggling. Many people there are struggling to put food on the table for their families, and you can imagine, I guess, what will happen then. It will be another Arab Spring or something like that, with everything that we have seen, and probably it's gonna get worse. So let me know what you have heard about that, and if something like that is being discussed in your country right now also. Take care, Servus, Kameraden.